Hello to you, dear brothers and sisters. We are continuing today our teaching in the general subject of prophecies, but more specifically, we are continuing our series concerning the kingdom of the Antichrist. God made sure to provide us with trademarks, all kinds of marks on this kingdom in order to identify it. I find it important to teach these things today because I find people who already think, that's it, we're in this time. Even I came across an incident where a sister wasn't ready didn't want people to check her temperature as she went into the supermarket because she thought it was the mark of the Antichrist on her forehead and on her hand. Things like this. It's really important that we'll understand what it says in the Word of God, so they won't get under pressure. The Word of God will teach us, it updates us, everything that God thinks it's important for us to know. Of course, we don't know everything, but we have all that we need to know in order to also be careful at the right time, and also that we won't be under pressure for nothing now. And I think it's important to go over these prophecies that were given to us about the kingdom of the Antichrist. This teaching can be very broad, and I'm really summarizing it down in order to make it fit this short, brief, daily teaching to give a background, especially for those who haven't heard and don't know the subject. So we were in Daniel chapter 2, and we saw the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had in Babylon. He saw this statue that the head was made of gold and then silver and an iron, bronze and an iron, and then the feet made of clay and iron. And as I explained, these were kingdoms: the kingdom of Babylon, then the kingdom of Persia, and then Greece, and then the Roman Empire, that is compared to the calves of iron, and then the feet made of iron and clay together. And that shows that since there's calves made of iron and feet made of iron and clay together, it gives us the message that there's a connection, there's a continuation between the Roman Empire and the kingdom of the Antichrist that will raise up. At this point, now, we go to Daniel chapter 7. And in this chapter, it's told us about a dream that Daniel himself had. And in this dream, he sees 4 animals. He sees a lion with the wings of an angel. And again, the lion with the wings of an eagle symbolize the Babylonian Empire. Even today, when they dig in those antiquities, they find these symbols of a lion with eagle's wings. There are more details we're not going to go into right now. And afterwards, he sees a second animal, which is a bear with ribs in its mouth, bones in its mouth, and it symbolizes the Persian Empire that came afterwards. And it then is connected to the Persian Empire. And then afterwards is a leopard. All of these animals come up out of the sea, and the sea represents the nations. The third animal, it has 4 wings and 4 heads, and it symbolizes the kingdom of Alexander the Great. He developed this flanks system of fighting, and he was very quickly defeating the Persian Empire. And when he died, his empire was divided into 4 parts. He had generals. Each general got one part of his empire. And so these are the 4 heads of this animal. And the wings, that symbolizes their speed of their conquering this empire. And then we come to the 4th beast that is represented to us. It says that it's a terrifying and extremely strong animal with iron teeth. I'm going to read from Daniel chapter 7, verse 8. And after this I kept looking at the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrifying, extremely strong. It had large iron teeth. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the remainder with its feet. And it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And while I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them. And 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth uttering great boasts. This is Daniel chapter 7, verses 7 and 8. So this fourth beast has iron teeth. Iron then connects us back to the Roman Empire. On the other hand, though, it has 10 horns, and these 10 horns speak about the kingdom of the Antichrist. It connects with us to the feet of the statue of Nebuchadnezzar that had 10 toes, some of them of clay, and some of them of iron. And again, the message of this continuation of this Roman Empire, then this Antichrist kingdom is connected to the Roman Empire. There's some continuation of the Roman Empire. And that gives us a hint. You know that the European Union is based on an agreement that is called the Rome Agreement. On the 25th of March, 1957, they signed this agreement in Rome. And this agreement unites all of those nations. And slowly, more nations joined. Now it's 27 nations in it. They took down the borders between them. This is mostly commercial agreements, financial agreements, but also people freely travel between them, one another. This European Union is built on an agreement called the Rome Agreement. It symbolizes for me, together with other signs that we'll see later on in Revelation, other descriptions of the Antichrist kingdom. All of this then connects for me ancient Rome and the name Roma and to what's happening today in the European Union. So today, the European Common Market or the European Union isn't thought of as when you're talking about great powers, you're talking about the United States and Russia, who's trying to raise up her head again, under Putin, trying to make herself to be a great power again. And there's no doubt that the European Union is a central player, but it's not a military power. But I believe that because of all these signs, and as we see them today, that also there is on basis of this European Union will come up the Antichrist kingdom. And as we continue to take out and collect signs, information from this prophecy from Daniel chapter 7, we see that there's the 10 horns. And then an additional horn, another one, sprouts up, a small horn among the 10. And it knocks down 3 of the ones that were there before. They are pulled out by the roots. And this horn then has a mouth, and it speaks great boasts. And so it comes up against God, and we see in other places, and it curses God, the kingdom of heaven. This will be the Antichrist himself, his rebellion will be full and complete against God, and he will fight against the saints and whoever believes in God. But what we see right now is that this horn that grows up and it knocks down 3 other horns, we understand that when the Antichrist will take control over this confederation, all of this union, these 10 horns of these nations, it will be out of a struggle, and he will knock down 3 other leaders, and he will take control over the whole system. And so, as I already saw, there are 27 nations in the European Union. We don't know how. Will it be a situation where it will come down to the number of 10? Maybe there'll be a number of nations that will go down, or they'll be united and become 10 units, or something else happen. That nations will leave the European Common Market. There'll be some kind of different levels of nations within it. I don't know how to answer these questions right now, but it's something we'll have to wait to see how it will develop. All this idea of the 10 kings or 10 nations? We'll have to wait and see. But if so, then we learned today additional things about the Antichrist and how we'll come up to the power. There'll be a struggle in it. And he will speak great things and bad things against God, against the kingdom of heaven. So we're going to continue our teaching in the coming days by the grace of the Lord. Shalom. I wish you all a good and blessed day.